wow, why is this chair so low? There we go. Need like a booster seat today. Husband put the chair too low. And my computer's crooked. My goodness, what happened down here? Mayhem? This thing is super high. Ah, there we go. Okay, now I can see myself. All right. So we are going to be factoring trinomials, and I'm going to do a little bit of skipping around in this lesson today because I just want to focus on factoring basic trinomials. I don't want to get too fancy yet. Let me make sure my volume's working on my side. Yes, it is. All right. So if my volume cuts out, please let me know. Otherwise, I won't know, and I'll just keep talking, and you'll just see my mouth move, but nothing will actually happen. So we've done factoring out the GCF. So far we factored out a GCF. We've faced on the conjugate pairs. That was the dots thing, that homework that was due yesterday. Today we're going to do the most important factoring of your life, okay? This is like literally the basis of algebra, is knowing how to factor a trinomial. It's like life right now, okay? So before we do that, let's just multiply two binomials and see what kind of answer we get, because we're going to be doing the opposite way today. So I'm just going to use double distributive method. If you want to use the box method, that's totally fine. I don't have a preference. Whatever works for you. So I'm just going to double distribute. So we get x squared. Wow, this marker's like super chubby. Man, Josh changed everything on me today. All right, x squared plus 3x. And then we're going to distribute the 5. So plus 5x plus 15. So when the dust settles, we get x squared plus 8x plus 15. Oops, forgot my 1. So what our goal for today is, what we're going to be asked to do, is we're going to be given the trinomial, and we're going to have to work backwards to figure out what were the two binomials. We're going to see if we can notice any like patterns or a way that we might be able to figure that out. So let's distribute a couple more. Now I'll leave it on purple. Why not? Okay. So again, I'm just going to double distribute. So we get x squared plus 7x minus 2x minus 14. So we get x squared plus 5x minus 14. Okay. And then let's see what we get for the next one. Double distribute. We get x squared minus 10x minus 5x plus 50. So we get x squared minus 15x plus 50. Okay, so let's just kind of analyze what we have here. And I'm going to erase what I did in the bubbles just so we can look at it a little bit cleaner, okay? So, pick a pastel highlighter. Let's check out this first one. We have x plus 5 and x plus 3. And then we have x squared plus 8x plus 15. So all the ones that I'm going to have you factor today are going to be like an x squared. I'm not going to give you anything crazy for that first term. Now, when we're looking at trinomials, if you recall, it's the term of ax squared plus bx plus c, where a, b, and c are real life numbers. So in this case, we know a is 1, b is 8, and c is 15. So what I want to know is, how can I just go from this trinomial to these two binomials? And I like to call the method double bubble because the parentheses remind me of bubbles, okay? So let's look at the numbers we're having. Well, x times x we know is x squared. So for now, we're always just going to have an x and an x to start with, very similar to how we started last week, Thursday. And then let's look at 5 and 8. I have a positive 5 and a positive 3. If I combine those, if I add those together, I get 8. And then if I multiply them together, I get 15. So when we're factoring, we have to think of what multiplies. Let me pick a different color here. What multiplies to get the c value? and combines, not but and combines to get the B value. This, what I wrote in blue, is absolutely critical. You need to write this down, okay? So when we're looking at that trinomial, we have to think about what multiplies to give us positive 15. What multiplies to give us positive 15? What multiplies to give us positive 15 is either 1 times 15 or 3 times 5. And out of those factor pairs, what will combine, what will add to give us 8? Well, 1 and 15 is going to give us 16, so that wouldn't work. But 3 plus 5 will give us 8. So that's how you figure out what's going to be in the rest of your bubbles. So this part that I wrote here in blue, what multiplies to get C and combines to get B. That's what's going to go in your double bubbles. And the reason why I say combine is because sometimes one sign might be plus and one sign might be minus, okay? So that in blue literally is how we factor. So let's see if that rule works for the next one. So this is what we're dealing with here. If I want to know what multiplies to give me C, C is the constant number, so the 14. What are my options to multiply to get 14? Well, I can do 1 times 14, and I can do 2 times 7. Now, if we notice, that 14 has a minus sign in front of us. So because it's subtracting there, we know my signs are going to have to be opposite. So I have to do something times something must give me a negative 14. So when I think of negative 14, I've got a couple options here. I can do negative 1 times positive 14, or I can do positive 1 times negative 14. I can do negative 2 times 7, or I can do 2 times negative 7. So, and it needs to combine to give me 5. So combine to get B, which in this case happens to be a positive 5. So which of those, when I combine them, gives me a positive 5? Well, negative 1 plus 14 is 13, so that's not going to work. 1 and negative 14 gives me negative 13, so that's not going to work. 2 and negative 7 gives me negative 5, so that's not going to work. But negative 2 and a positive 7 give me a positive 5. So that one does work. So let's try that again. Let's try that again. Okay. So what multiplies to give me a positive 50? That would be 1 and 50, 2 and 25, 5 and 10. Now what's interesting about this one is we are combining to get a negative 15. But I'm multiplying to get a positive. Well, when I multiply to get a positive, that means my signs must be the same, because a negative times a negative will give me a positive. So when I'm up here, negative 1 times negative 50 will give me positive 50. Negative 2 times negative 25 will give me positive 50. And negative 5 times negative 10 will give me positive 50. Now I have to figure out which of those pairs is going to combine. My pen froze. Combine to give me a negative 15. So combine to negative 15. So negative 1 and negative 50 is negative 51. That doesn't work. Negative 2 and negative 25 give me negative 27. That doesn't work. But negative 5 and negative 10 do give me negative 15. So that does work. Okay. So I am going to scooch down to the next page. Because again, I just want to do things that are just x squared for today. So we are going to scooch down all the way to the second page. You can cross off example A, example D, example E, example F, example H. I'm not going to do those. I just want the ones that are x squareds. Okay, so anytime that I am asked to factor, and factoring will have more meaning in a later unit that you'll cover in Algebra B, I want to first drop down my double bubbles. So one is write the double bubbles, which is your parentheses, okay? After I write down the double bubbles, I know when I go to multiply these that I need to get an x squared. So then I'm just going to insert my x in my x. So step 2 is drop in the x and x in both your bubbles. Okay? From there, this is what we're going to do that we wrote in blue on the first page. So step 3 is what multiplies to give me positive 10 and combines to negative 7. Because remember, it goes A, B, C. So what multiplies to give me C happens to be positive 10. What combines to give me B is a negative 7. So, I'll use purple. So I want to know my factor pairs of 10. Now we're multiplying to get a positive 10, but we're combining to get a negative 7. So that tells me both my signs have to be negative. So because a negative times a negative is a positive. So what are my options for 10? Negative 1 times negative 10, negative 2 times negative 5. One of these will combine to give us 7. Negative 1 plus negative 10 is negative 11, so that doesn't work. And negative 2 plus negative 5 does give me negative 7. So that's going to be 2 and 5. And that, my friends, is how we factor. And these may be confusing at first, and that is totally normal. Totally normal, okay? These do take some practice and some getting used to, but these steps that I wrote off to the side, please write those down because they are very important. So if you're watching the repeat of this, just make sure, that's my train of thought. Use pause the video if you need a second. All right. Let's go to C. So we are first not using that color. We're going to first drop down our double bubbles, and then I'm going to drop in my x's. So I need to know what multiplies to positive 21 and combines to positive 10. Now, what I wrote in green, you technically don't have to write every single time, but I'm going to write it because these are your notes, okay? So, what multiplies to give us positive 21 and combines to give us a positive 10? Well, because everything's positive here, I know that it's going to be x plus something and x plus something. So, let's think about 21 for a second there. I've got 1 times 21 and 3 times 7. One of those needs to combine to give us 10. 1 plus 21 is 22. That doesn't work. 3 times 7 is 21. Excuse me, 3 times 7 is 21. But 3 plus 7 would give us 10. So that is what my answer will be. Now, one quick way, I should have said this earlier, but I didn't. One quick way to check to see if your answer is correct, if you use your calculator and you plug in the original trinomial into y1, and then you plug in the factored one into y2, if you look at your tables, everything will match up perfectly. So that's one really nice quick way to check your work. Otherwise, you can double distribute in, but like, that takes a minute, right? Why do the slower way, you know? Okay, let's scooch down and practice another. So, we want to know, actually, I'm just going to drop down my double bubbles first, and my x's, okay? So we want to know what multiplies to get positive 12 and combines to get negative 8. Well, if I'm multiplying to get a positive but combining to get a negative, that means both my signs in here must be the same. They must both be negative, because a negative times a negative is still going to give me a positive, but now it will combine to give me a negative. So, excuse me, let's see, factor pairs of 12, negative 1 times negative 12, negative 2 times negative 6, negative 3 times negative 4. Now, one of these pairs must combine to give me negative 8. So let's see who it is. Negative 1 and negative 12 give me negative 13. That doesn't work. Negative 2 and negative 6. That does give me negative 8. Winner, winner. So 2 and 6. And that is your answer. Okay, earphones are bugging my head. All right. I'm actually going to scooch down into some of the homework page of these notes, which I normally don't do, but I feel like the practice here is pretty necessary, okay? And if after this lesson you're like, I don't know what happened, join me on my Zoom. And tomorrow you can do Zoom from either 10 to 11 or 1 to 2. Wait, yeah, tomorrow's Wednesday. Yeah, that'll be fine. So we can do more of these together. So I'm just going to pick a couple, and we'll see how we do. All right, so what multiplies to get positive 16 and combines to get positive 10? So I'm going to drop down my double bubbles. I'm going to drop in my x's. And now I got to think, if everything's positive here, that means my signs in my parentheses are also going to be positives. My pen froze, so sweet. There we go. All right, so let's think. Multiplies to get 16. That would be 1 times 16, or 2 times 8, or 4 times 4. So one of those must combine to give us 10. 1 plus 16, that's 17. 2 plus 8, though, winner, winner, chicken dinner, that is 10. So an 8 and a 2, or 2 and an 8. That part doesn't really matter. As long as the sign comes for the journey, all is well. Let's see. I want to pick a tougher one. Let's zoom out and see what we're cooking with here. Haha, yes. Let us do letter G. All right. So letter G, we need to multiply to get a negative 18 and combine to get negative 3. Since I am multiplying to get a negative, that means my signs in my parentheses must be different. They must be different. So I'm going to drop down my double bubble. I know one of these will be plus and one of these will be minus. Okay, so multiplies to give us negative 18. We got a few choices here. We could do negative 1 times 18. Oops, what is happening? I don't know. Whoa. That was weird. Okay. Woo. Come back to me, computer. All right. Or we could do, positive 1 times negative 18. We could do negative 2 times 9, or 2 times negative 9. We could do negative 3 times 6, or 3 times negative 6. All right, one of those must combine to give us a negative 3. So negative 1 plus 18 is 17. This one will be negative 17. Negative 2 and 9 gives me 7. Does not work. 2 and negative 9 gives me negative 7. Negative 3 and 6 gives me positive 3. So closer, but still. And 3 and negative 6 does give me negative 3. So in here, my 3 must be positive and my 6 must be the negative 1. Oh man, this pen is making me mad. So mad. Bam. Very good. And again, you can check these in your calculator. No big deal. Let's do another one where that C term is negative. The next one happens to be fabulous. All right. So we are multiplying to get a negative 40 and combining to get a positive 3. Well, we are multiplying to get a negative, so right there, when I go to drop down my double bubbles, I know my signs are going to be different, okay? So multiply to get negative 40. Got lots of factor pairs here. Lots of factor pairs. We could do negative 1 times 40, or 1 times negative 40. Oh, hello, computer. Thank you for scrolling on me. That wasn't done or anything. All right, 1 times negative 40. We could do negative 2 times 20, or 2 times negative 20. Let's see, we could do negative 4 times 10, or positive 4 times negative 10. We could do negative 5 times 8, or 5 times negative 8. All right, so lots of options here. We need one that gives us positive 3. Well, that's 39, that's negative 39, that's 18, that's negative 18, this is 6, this is negative 6. Let's see, this one does give us a positive 3. So when I go to write my answer in, my 5 must be negative and my 8 must be positive. So the sign comes along for the journey. So hopefully those are okay. Again, we're going to practice this again Thursday, so don't panic. We're going to do a lot of practicing with factoring pretty much till the end of the year now. So if any questions, just let me know. We can Zoom together and I can help you out. So have a fabulous day. And I got a new end scene. Check this out. It's with all my pets, so I'm very excited about it. So have a fabulous day.